Okay, so one of the questions you were asked in the previous video was to compare the amount in the account you would have on October 14th, 2016 in the account that's just calculating the interest yearly versus the amount that you have in the account versus when you calculate the interest monthly on the same date. So I've highlighted both of those rows. So on the first sheet, it's just the first row because that's the date you have October 14th on. And on the second sheet, it's the 12th row because 12 months later, you're going to get to October 14th. And if you notice, there's a discrepancy. In other words, there's a difference between what you would, excuse me, what you would have earned year 1 and what you would have earned year 12. And I asked you to try to think about why that happens. And my guess is that that was a pretty hard question. But maybe some of you have an idea. So I wanted to explain that to you, and then I wanted to explain the concept, the difference between what's something called APR, which is the annual percentage rate, and APY, which is something called the annual percentage yield. It's a very distinct but important difference, especially when we start talking about loans. So average monthly, so if I looked at what I have here for my first year, I made $100, okay? I made $100 over 12 months. So if I wanted to calculate my average monthly interest, I could take my $100 and divide by the 12 months, and my average monthly interest on this first year would have been $8.33. If you notice, that matches exactly what the first month's interest earned was. But it doesn't match the second month, and it doesn't match the third month, and so on and so forth. If you notice, these guys get a little bit bigger. And by the end of the month, I've accumulated 92 extra cents in interest. So I originally started with 5,100, doing it the first way, and the second way I ended up getting $5,100.92. Well, the reason why is because I have 12 times of earning interest here. So in other words, if I look at this calculation, this $8.35, where did it come from? Well, it came from taking my interest rate, which is the monthly interest rate, which is the, hold on, let me just click here, okay, which is the 0.1667%, and applying that to the previous month's balance. So in other words, I made interest on the original $5,000, and I made interest on the $8.33. That's why I get an extra 2 cents of interest. I get $8.35. And this continues to build. It continues to build, and it builds in our favor because we're saving money. And so if we do this, if we take my yearly rate and divide it by 12, and then apply that interest 12 times, I actually make a little bit more money than if I had just taken that same interest rate and applied it once per year. I make, in fact, 92 cents more. So one question you might want to ask yourself is, well, okay, I started with $5,000, okay? And in a year's time here, I made $5,100.92. I might want to ask myself, what percentage did I actually make? Well, what amount of money did I make? How much money did I make? Well, I made this number, $5,100.92, minus my initial investment, which was $5,000, which is here. Okay? I don't actually want this displayed as a percent. This should be a money amount. I made $100.92. Now, what percentage is that? Well, I could take the amount of money that I made and divide it by the amount of money I started with. And if I notice, if I make this into a percent, this is actually 2.02%. So this is really interesting. I started with what I thought was an interest rate of 2.00%, but because I kept getting interest over the entire year, I ended up at a percent that was 2.02%. This number, which I'm going to highlight now in green, this is my true percentage. This is what we call the annual percentage yield. Okay? It's the true percentage of what was earned. It's the true percentage of what was earned. Even though I started off with an annual percentage rate of 2.00, but because I earned interest each month, I actually end up with a higher percentage at the end of the year than if I had just basically calculated the interest at the end of the year. All right? And this is a pretty cool effect. And you're going to see as you go through the exercises that I gave you that you are going to have, this is going to actually have a pretty big effect, especially if the amount of money gets larger. So in the next thing, I want you to actually, you're going to start with a different investment, okay? You're going to start with an investment of $10,000, okay, over at a 3%. So you're going to start with $10,000, okay, and you're going to start it with a 3% yearly rate. You'll notice everything changes, and you're going to calculate the annual percentage yield. That's going to be one of the exercises to see if you understand this process. And then there are more questions after that. All right, good watching.